I'm going to ask you a very simple question. Do you know the difference between being poor and being bankrupt? So basically, there are three lines in simple business terms. There is the top line, there is the middle line, there is the bottom line. The top line, it shows how much you have earned per month. Then there is the middle line, that shows your expenses. And then there is the bottom line. It shows how much you have actually earned. So when you are poor, your top line is less, your middle line is even lesser, and then there is the bottom line. Although insignificant, but it is positive. You are in profit. But when you are bankrupt, the top line is huge, your earnings are huge. Your middle line is even bigger. You have a much bigger expense line. And then there is the bottom line. A huge number, but you are in loss. From the place where you should be earning, you are actually putting in money just to run the show. In layman terms, when you are poor, you have no money. But when you are bankrupt, you are driving a 50 lakh rupee car and then you have no money. I have been bankrupt. I have seen days where people from banks have come to my home threatening to take it away because I was unable to complete the EMIs. Credit card companies were calling me day and night because I was unable to pay their bills. At one point of time in my life, I had to sell off all my cars just to keep the show running. I have been to hell and back. I know you have heard a lot of stories about bright and inspiring people going from rags to riches. But today I'm going to tell you a story about a guy going from riches to rags to survival. And why you should hear this from me? Because you have not seen a more unpunctual, irresponsible, spoiled child at the age of 21. I'm going to share some conversations that changed the course of my life. The conversation one, the first one, I call it the wake-up call. And trust me when I say this, if this conversation had not happened, I might not be standing here today. So imagine a guy waking up in his college hostel in a protracted spell of semi-consciousness. That's the most refined way of saying I was pretty hungover. Exactly. And I see a marketing rep from a different coaching institute entering into my room. My friends gather around me, and we start having a conversation. This institute, that institute. And when I talk about Bhatia, that's mine, he simply summarizes in a one single liner. वो तो बंद होने वाला है. For a second, it sent a shiver down my spine. And a second later, we were back. It's a marketing thing. Why do we need to care? But I knew something was wrong. So the very next day, I gave a call to one of the trusted employees of my company. And again, I hear one single liner. आज तो सब ठीक है, मगर अगर आप आए नहीं, तो शायद कल कुछ बचेगा भी नहीं. The very next day, suited, booted, in my most sincerest self, I was standing in my dad's office. Not because I had to, but because I was scared. I had nothing else in my life. The second conversation, guys, was with myself. So the moment I entered my dad's office, my dad's business, suddenly I was promoted to the CEO. I was the owner's son, normal. And in huge block letters, in every social media profile, I had put, I am an entrepreneur. Do you know what an entrepreneur is? I'll tell you. Imagine 4 guys are going in a car. Suddenly the car experiences a tire burst. The entrepreneur in them, that one guy, would learn the skill set to how to change the tire on YouTube, provide this solution to his 3 other friends, charge them money to solve their problem, and eventually he would solve their problem. Did I know what the problem was? Absolutely not. Did I have the skill set to solve the problem? Matlab nahi banta. Would anybody give me money to solve their problem? Not in the crazy fantasy world. And would I eventually be able to solve that problem? Absolutely not. The first thing I asked myself that, what am I doing here? Neither I knew the problem, so I simply said, let's first find the problem. As the CEO, nobody was giving me the real picture. Everybody was giving me the rosy picture that everything is good, you don't need to worry about anything. But inside, I knew something was wrong. People from my college were not joining us. That was the situation. So I did the most simple thing I could imagine. I went and started conversing with our current students. What is your experience right now? What are you liking? What are you not liking? Then I went and talked to our former students to compare notes. Their experience then, their experience now. I went and talked to our competitor students. What is our market reputation? What do you think about Bhatia? Why have you joined the other thing? And that tradition I have carried on to still today, to this day. Once a month, I sit down on my complaint line as a customer care executive, and the whole day I listen to students vent about my product and services. I write down everything. And when somebody asks me, what is my next month's plan? I show them that page. This is my next month's plan. The first person that you need to really care about is your consumer. The first person you need to listen to is your consumer. That line, that customer is God, that's absolutely true. Listen to them, care about them, and you are a winner. So I found some problems. Won't bore you with the details. But even then, I was investing money into finding the solution, but rarely I could find any desired outcome. It was just expenditure, that's it. Over a period of time, I realized what the problem was. That I did not have the skill set to actually solve that problem. I was relying too much on others. That's when my learning phase began. I learned digital marketing, HR management, data analysis, public speaking, time management. And don't think that since you are doctors or you do not own a family business, you do not need a skill set. I'm really sorry to burst your bubble, but I will do that, and with a perfect example. Imagine you are a doctor and you are trying to open a clinic in a locality. You decorate it beautifully, you have the best of the equipments, the best of the instruments. But tell me something, why would a patient come to you, a newbie, when there are so many doctors sitting in that locality with having years of experience, a trust in the community, a connection in the community? Why would a patient come to you? Here comes your skill set in play. You start with the basic marketing technique. You print out flyers and you distribute them in every household possible. You let them know that there is a doctor by your name available for them in that locality. Or you go a step up. You have your own website, you do SEO, you run Facebook ads, Google ads. In every domain, you let them know that there is a doctor by your name available there. And when they finally come to you, by the prowess of the degree that you have earned, you show them such exemplary patient work that they keep coming back. I am not saying that degrees can be replaced by a skill set, no. But what I'm trying to say here is that the skill set can make you stand apart in a crowd. It can be your USP. Never stop learning. And to be very frank, I am a very rigid man. I have the same breakfast every day. I go to the same gym for so many years. I have fixed restaurants and hotels I like to go to. I don't like change. When I entered my father's business, I had 20 years of rigidity in front of me. Every idea I put on my table was simply swept aside as being immature. I fought with everybody. I had that bratty boyishness was still alive. But then I realized what the problem was. I had not earned the right to have a say in my company. I had no credentials. I was just the owner's son, and there were some distinguished people with us. So I was at that point of time, so I was during my learning phase. So I used to learn from everywhere possible. I was going through this popular drama show with lawyers and their beautiful suits, and I realized how relationships are actually made. So I started keeping a small diary about my people, about my company's people, writing their names, their birth dates, their anniversaries, their pet names, their family names, what are their likes and dislikes, so that every person I meet, I could make them feel special. My father had a great set of people around him. He was blessed with it. And it was my job to make them feel appreciated. And when we were down in our dumps, at the worst time, those were the people who stood by us by taking a pay cut of almost 6 months just so that the company could survive. I'm actually not joking here when I tell you that if you plan to go on an ambitious route and you want to walk far, the first thing that you need to do is find a great set of people to work with. It is the team that will win, not the individual. And before you think of forming a team, the first person you need to identify is yourself. Trust me on that. Because in front of the team, you have to be completely transparent. They have to know who you are. And before that, you have to know who you are. I bet right now I can talk to anyone in the crowd and I can ask them, what are your strengths and weaknesses? You will think twice before giving me just a random answer. We never take time out to analyze ourselves. After years of battling my shortcomings, I finally embraced them. Yes, I am who I am. I'm not the guy who can wake up at 6 a.m., but I'm the guy who can wake up at 8 a.m. and work for 14 hours a day. I'm not too much into books, but I substitute them with educational videos. I am a big-time overthinker and a big-time procrastinator. I mean, let's be fair. Who isn't? After years of battling them, I finally embraced them. To battle my overthinking, I make sure that I don't sleep past 8 a.m. I work out six times a week, not because I want to stay fit. That's a secondary motive now. But because I want to go dead tired at 12 a.m. when I go to sleep. Otherwise, I am wide awake, my mind goes into a hyperactive stage, and I can lay awake overthinking all night. To battle my procrastination, I make 8 one-hour plans instead of 1 8-hour plan. I find it better to focus on short durations. And all these shortcomings, all these weaknesses, finding them is not a lone task. That's why you need a mentor. I have a mentor. Whenever I face a problem, I simply go to him and he gives me a perspective. Finding the solution is my job, but that perspective, now that, my friends, is invaluable. Finding a mentor won't be easy. It will be a tedious job, but trust my word when I say that it will be totally worth it. Now I think we can talk about building a brand. Do you know what a brand is? A brand can be a person, a community, or a company which has such an exemplary product or service that when the consumer experiences it, he goes out, he gives a shout out to every other person he meets, and the other person goes back to the brand, not because of marketing, but because of word of mouth reputation. I had a brand, but mine was a dying brand or a negative brand. People used to experience my services and then go and say outside, don't join Bhatia. That was the reputation I was having. I realized that I have to build this brand again from the scratch. In 2018, EdTech was at the boom. So I thought, why not give it a try? I planned an app. And to be very frank with you guys, planning is a very big word. I'm being flashy over here. I rarely attended the meeting sincerely. I had zero sense of digital world, and it was a complete flop event, complete flop. In 2019, I finally changed my thought process. Instead of having a business that makes money, I thought of creating a business that makes a difference. I sold off all my cars to generate revenue. I mortgaged my house, took a huge loan from the market, penned down my plan, worked 14 hours a day, and gave it my everything. There were no plan Bs. Jo hoga dekha jayega. December 2019, my app was launched. January 2020, I had a collection of 2 CR. June 2020, I had paid off all my debts and I was in profits after 4 years. That was the first time I had a meal where I was debt-free, tension-free, guilt-free. And 4 years, my friends, is a very long time. It's a very long time. And don't think I have ever forgotten how being helpless is supposed to feel like. And last but not the least, when you start on an ambitious journey, the first people who are going to laugh at you are going to be your friends and family. You have to learn to walk this path alone. You have to learn to live alone. You are going to lose friends, you have to be okay with that. You have to hang out with people who push you to be better every day. You have to commit to that single plan, that single goal, that single dream. You have to make sacrifices for that dream. Otherwise, that dream would become that sacrifice. You have to cut down all the anchors. There should never be a plan B. Those who play safe, they never make it big. The right opportunity, the right person, the right thought, it never comes. Start with that first page, that first plan, that first consumer, and commit to yourself on getting better at 1% per day.